G'day guys, welcome to my RXY feature video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about NRL Round 9 recap preview for 2020 guys, so let's get started. So starting off with this first game of that round, we see the Cowboys going up against the Roosters. Now, what I can say about this game, the Roosters were basically a really good team. They performed very well. They had Matt Iguavale, which he performed excellent. He has scored roughly 5 tries. 5 tries. Absolutely incredible. Well done to him. And I cannot believe that. But it was a 42 points to 16 scoreline. Absolutely phenomenal for the Roosters. But for the Cowboys, they need to learn how to work forward for that game. And I'd say for the Cowboys, though, what I can say about this team, they need to have that spirit into that attacking team, because they are falling apart a bit with no Michael Morgan, no Valentine Holmes, which it is a big blow. That means Hamiso Tebawai-Fidel will come in for number 1, but we're not talking about that anyway. We're talking about the recap, not the predictions. So what I can say about this game, definitely a really good game this was. Matt Iguavale obviously took a very good thing to an absolute dank game. But let's have a look for the Roosters tries. But I did tip the Roosters by 14 points, and they obviously won 42 to 16. So let's have a look at the Cowboys tries. So what we have is Reece Robson. He scored 2 tries, and Cohen Hess, he obviously scored 1. So let's have a look at the Roosters tries. We have Matt Iguavale scored 5, Satili Tupanua and Luke Keary scored 2 tries, which means double. He was absolutely a very good player to stand out for that game. And my player of the game, obviously, what I just mentioned, he scored 5 tries for the that game, which is number 5 for the Sydney Roosters. Matt Iguavale, he is an absolute freak, and I cannot believe he absolutely scored 5 tries for this team. And yeah, he's just stood out for that team and stood out for the club, and I reckon he's going to have a great career for that team anyway, and I reckon he's going to have a great choice in that attack when he plays more games anyway. The next game of that round, we see the Titans going up against the Warriors. This game was certainly a very shocking game for the Warriors, but for the Titans, though, they really stood up to that game and took it with focus and how the way they want to play the ball properly. But I have to say, well done to the Titans that really stood up and just grabbed a really good win. But it was only for like another try to obviously win that game of football. But it did tip the Warriors by 8 points, and they certainly lost by 1 try at least. 16 points to 12 the scoreline was. But let's have a look at the Titans tries anyway. So what we have is Anthony Don, Sam Stone and Bo Firma. And for the Warriors tries, what we have is Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Ken Mamalo. Ken Mamalo is a really good player, but unfortunately for the Warriors, they need to step up a little bit. Obviously, if you want to make a win, can't just keep like winning and then losing and then winning and losing. It's just not a team that just certainly gets it out there. But my player of the game, certainly for this one, he's a development player, which means he came in a couple of weeks ago or a year ago, I think. But I think it's number 7 or number 6, which is Jamal Fogarty. He's a really good player, stands out for the team, and I just think he'll really gain that momentum. Unless if Ash Taylor or Tyron Roberts is injured, he'll certainly come into that squad and fill in, and he really steps up for the Titans, and I just think he'll aim up the game when he plays the next game. But what I can say, obviously, it was definitely a really good game for this match, and I certainly loved it for the Titans to win that game. But for the Warriors, they need to step it up a little bit, otherwise they're just going to fall apart with players really getting upset and really getting emotional for that game and any other games they play. But yeah, certainly a really tied up game anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Rabbitohs going up against the West Tigers. Now, definitely for this game, certainly extreme. certainly fast, certainly a really brutal game. But certainly what I did see was Josh Reynolds kicking the ball. But then when he ran and then obviously kicked it, he accidentally kicked Campbell Graham in the face. But then Latrell Mitchell shouldn't have reacted to that and then obviously pushed him to gain a melee. But really good game this was. I did tip the Rabbitohs by 12 points and they obviously won. 18 points to 10 the scoreline was. And for that game, certainly for Latrell Mitchell, he is stepping up a little bit, but sometimes he doesn't really step up due to different types of teams they play up against. But for Dan Gagai, well done for this player. I really think he's going to step up for when he becomes a really good player for the season. But let's have a look at the Rabbitohs tries. So what we have here is Dan Gagai scored 3 tries, absolutely wonderful for him, and James Roberts. James Roberts is a really good player that just stands out for the team. But let's have a look at the West Tigers tries. So what we have here is Josh Aloiai and Reese Hoffman. Reese Hoffman's a new player. They did play for his debut last week. He did really well for that team, and I just think he did stood out for that game anyway. But my player of the game, certainly what I just mentioned, scored 3 tries in that game. Certainly this one, Dan Gagai. He is an absolutely really freak player, and I just think he's going to stand out for the team, and I think he's going to have a wonderful season. And I think he's going to have a wonderful playing career, and I really do hope that Rabbitohs do not fall apart but gain momentum to step up a little bit anyway. The next game of this match, we see the Sharks going up against the Panthers. Now, this game certainly is a really firing up match that this game took it to a new level. And basically for the Sharks, I really do think that they are a really good team. But sometimes they do fall apart a bit without Matt Moylan, without the playing momentum thing. But certainly for the Sharks, they are a really good team that just balances out for the club. But what I can say about this game, definitely was a firing up match anyway. But it was 56 points to 24 in that game, only because this new player in this match scored hat-trick of tries, which I think it was, but it was. So it was Charlie Staines that scored 4 tries in that game. Certainly a wonderful step up for him making his debut anyway. But well done to him anyway. Wonderful guy. But I did tip the Panthers though by 10 points, and they obviously won 56 to 24. And let's have a look at the Sharks tries anyway. So what we have here is Britton Nakora, Blake Brayley, Jesse Ramian, and Nene McDonald. And for the Panthers tries, what we have here is Brenton Aiden, Liam Munn, Stephen Crichton scored 2 tries. Charlie Staines, what I mentioned before, scored 4 tries. Dylan Edwards and Billy Burns. I think it's Billy Burns or someone else. I'm not too sure. But my player of the game, what I just mentioned before, certainly had a wonderful game for that one, was Charlie Staines, scoring 4 tries in that game. No one ever scored that many tries in a debut match. Wonderful player this guy was, and I just certainly think he's going to have a wonderful career. But unfortunately though, he did have his mistakes, but I'm not too sure about that. We'll see after NRL anyway. So that game was a really good match anyway, and yeah, well done to the Panthers for making that win up against the Sharks anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Broncos going up against the Bulldogs. Now, this game was an alright match, certainly average for that game, but there is a but in this, because they have finally won in that game, Broncos, and they have lost 6 games in a row, but they haven't now, because it was 26 points to 8 scoreline, and certainly well done for that match. But it wasn't a 7-loss losing streak, but now it was just a winning streak now. But for the Broncos, they played absolutely really well, but with Alex Glenn going out no, he didn't play actually, he didn't play for that match, which was pretty brutal struggling a little bit. But I did tip the Broncos though by 8 points, and they certainly won 26-8. But let's have a look at the Broncos tries anyway. So what we have here is Corey Oates, Tavita Pengo Jr., Jermaine Asako scored 2 tries. Wonderful player he is. And Xavier Coates. Xavier Coates is a really good player too that stands out for the club. And let's have a look at the Bulldogs tries. So what we have here is Nick Meaney and Dylan Watene-Selesniak. But the Bulldogs though, they really need to step it up if they want to have that momentum going and really having that spark in that attack. But Nick Meaney and Dylan Watene-Selesniak are really good players that stand out for the club anyway, but sometimes they do have a little bit of struggling things of the club, but they really do play a wonderful game of football. But my player of the game certainly goes to this player, number 5, Xavier Coates, or number 2 or number 5, I'm not too sure, but I think it was number 2 in that match. Goes to Xavier Coates. Xavier Coates really did a wonderful match, playing game, and I think he had a wonderful playing career going on to the season, but I reckon he's going to have a wonderful playing career going into that season anyway. But yeah, that was a really good match for the Broncos, and I reckon they'll do a really good match next week anyway. For this week, I mean. But yeah, they are a really good team anyway. The next game of that match, we see the Raiders going up against the Melbourne Storm. Now, this game was certainly a firing up match. And for the Raiders, though, they are a really good team that stands out for the club. But sometimes they do really have a struggling game sometimes. But sometimes they win, but sometimes they lose. But then they just muck up a little bit, which I don't think they are a really good team sometimes. But what I can say is, it was a 20 points to 14 scoreline, and a wonderful game this was, because I think Josh Adokar had a wonderful game. But there is a but in this, because when you bump someone and they say it's a shoulder charge, so when Josh Adokar came in, he obviously interrupted that play, but he didn't shoulder charge anyone. It wasn't a shoulder charge anyway, so I don't know why the ref and the ref official made it a shoulder charge, because it wasn't a shoulder charge, it was just a bump that obviously interrupted the play. So let's move on from that anyway, but I did tip the Storm by 6 points, and they obviously won 20 to 14. So let's have a look at the Raiders tries anyway. So what we have here is Josh Papali, Nick Kotrick, and Chance Nickel Clockstead. For the Storm tries, what we have here is Branko Lee, Josh Adokar, and Ryan Papenhausen. But my player of the game, number 5 here, Josh Adokar, he had a wonderful game, and I just think he's going to have a wonderful career playing for the Melbourne Storm. But he did play for the West Tigers, but that was in the younger days anyway. But he is a really good player that plays for the Melbourne Storm, and I just think when the Melbourne Storm play, they really do make things a really entertaining match. But I think they are a really good team that just brings into that season. But they are a really good team that just gives that wonderful capability of a really good games anyway. The next game of that round, we see the Knights going up against the Eels. Now, this game certainly was a very low-scoring match, but certainly a sloppy game. Only because I know that I understand that when the light turned really dark, it was because it was basically the storm coming over. And really, it was the dark clouds certainly came over, and when it rained, it was really muggy, really slippery, and very difficult to play the ball. But it was 10 points to 4 the scoreline, and I just think that game was certainly a really ridiculous match. But luckily the Eels won this game, only because last year or so they played really terrible, and the Knights gained that win to gain that momentum. But I went for the Eels by 10 points, and they did won 10 points to 4. But let's have a look at the Knights tries. Only try that scored was Andrew McCulloch, but I didn't think it was a try. I think what he had was the ball came up and someone else from the Eels grabbed it, and I didn't think it was a try. So I don't know why the hell it was. But let's move on from that. But let's have a look at the Eels tries anyway. So what we have here is Ryan Madison and Marco Sevo. Marco Sevo played a really good game, and I just think he absolutely dominated the Knights. But when Kektoe scored, I thought another scoreline happened, but unfortunately though he was offside. But yeah, it was really surprising anyway. But my player of the game certainly goes to number 2 from the Parramatta Eels, Marco Sevo. He did a wonderful match, and I just think he played a wonderful game of football up against the Newcastle Knights, and I think he did a wonderful job to play that match anyway. And last but certainly not least, we see the Dragons going up against the Manly Seagulls. Now, this game was certainly a really violent match, but Dragons really stepped it up a little bit and really took that game to an absolutely good flyer. And I just think for that game, certainly took a toll in that match for the Dragons, and I just think they really stepped it up in that game. And what I can tell about this match certainly was 34 points to 4 scoreline, and I tipped Manly by 14, and I obviously got it wrong in my tipping. But let's have a look at the Seagulls tries. What we have here is the only try that scored, which was Joel Thompson from Manly. And let's have a look at the Dragons tries. So what we have here is Josh Kerr, Matt Duffy, Michaeli Ravalawa, Zach Lomax, Corey Norman, and Yuan Aiken. And I tell you, the Dragons are a really good team, and I just tell you that that match was just a really exquisite match. That I just take that match was just really took its toll. But I really do think that this game was a really standout game. But I really do hope that if this game can be a real turnout match, I really do think that the Manly Seagulls need to step it up a little bit. But for that Cherry Evans that didn't do well in that game, that throwing that intercept, which means Zach Lomax obviously had it and then passed it to Matt Duffy to obviously score a try. Matt Duffy is a really good speedster that obviously scores tries for that game. But for my player of the game, which I just mentioned just then, was number 1 from the Dragons, certainly was Matthew Duffy. He was an absolutely really good player to stand out in that match, and I really do think he is a really good player that just brings to the club for that game. Thanks guys for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more. I will be doing a couple of videos coming to you guys soon. Also, I'll be doing more videos coming to you guys soon, so stay tuned for more. Plus leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and for this video. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care guys, stay safe and have a good one. Let's get up to 200 subscribers. We're seeing up to 165 anyway, so let's get up to that anyway. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.